Good afternoon, everyone, and happy first day of the fall semester. My name is Nancy Stevens, and I am glad to have you here for today's Cat Chat Live. This is a special first day of school conversation with the UK's Vice President for Student Success, Dr. Kirsten Turner. Before I hand things over to Dr. Turner, as always, I want to run through a couple of quick housekeeping items. So we are going to have a few slides to share with you today. And then afterwards, we'll open it up for your questions. You can use the Zoom Q&A feature to communicate with us. We'll plan on being together for no more than an hour today. We know you're busy and need to get on with your day, but we're happy to take questions during that allotted time. If you're not able to join us for the entirety of today's webinar, it is being recorded. And I'll be posting that recording in the Cat Chat family community later this afternoon, so you can look for it there. If at any point you have questions after today's webinar, you can always email parents@uky.edu for assistance. UK's Parent and Family Engagement Team is happy to connect you with any campus resources. At the conclusion of today's webinar, you'll see a link for a survey. It's just a few questions, but we appreciate any feedback that you are willing to give us. And you have the opportunity to let us know what other questions you have about your Students UK experience, and we'll make sure to address those in future Cat Chat Lives or in the Cat Chat family community. Our fall series is getting underway today. It is not quite as robust as our summer series, but we do have some important topics that we'll be touching on, including some next week. We know that some of our first year students and others may experience some homesickness. And so the director of TRACS, which is Triage, Referral Assistance, and Crisis Support, will be coming to us to share some good tips on how to support students who may be navigating homesickness and share some of the UK resources that we have to support them. And then later next week, my colleagues from Education Abroad and Exchanges will be with us talking in advance of the fall fair that they'll be hosting on campus. And so that's a good one to check out if your student is thinking that some sort of education abroad experience might be part of their UK journey. And then a little bit later in September, we'll be talking about the university's upcoming Family Weekend celebration, and we hope you're making plans to attend that. A few other campus partners are interested in adding Fall Cat Chat Live webinar dates, and so as those come together, they'll be posted in the Cat Chat family community. You can always go to Cat Chat whenever you have questions about UK. I spent a lot of time in there this morning adding some additional reminders, posts, information about various campus services. So check that out. Make sure you're reading those newsletters. They're the best way to stay up to date with all the things that we have going on at UK. And there are many things going on at UK now that the fall semester is underway. One of the things that is going on today is first day of school photos. There were folks lined up out at the Bowman statue on Wildcat Alumni Plaza this morning. They are shifting and moving inside for an afternoon session of photos by Lazy Bowman, as he is known on the Gatton Student Center social staircase. The team there from the Alumni Association and Parent and Family Engagement will be set up from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time today. So there's still time for you to send a quick text over to your Wildcat and nudge them over there. We are very used to seeing students lined up with a look on their face that says, "My mom sent me here." We are very used to that and always glad to see them and help celebrate this milestone with them. All right, those are my housekeeping items. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Turner, UK's Vice President for Student Success. I know that you have been very busy on campus these last few days, taking part in a lot of the K-Week activities. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more from you and your impressions of how the school year is getting underway. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks so much, Nancy, and really glad to be with all of you today. We are, as we say on campus, it's always a great day to be a Wildcat, and that is no different than today. Today is an excellent day to be a Wildcat. We are rocking and rolling. We're halfway through or so, if you will, with classes today. We opened our doors this morning, welcoming the students back, and it's been a really, really wonderful day thus far. We've concluded our K-Week activities. K-Week is for all of our first-time freshmen and our transfer students. We concluded those last night. We had a really great, Mother Nature worked really well with us for this K-Week. We were able to have all of the events and both during the day and all through the evening as well. Students, we don't have the official numbers yet. We will have them probably later this afternoon of how many students attended each of the different events because we asked them to swipe in. But just having my eyes on the different events, they were highly, highly well attended. Lots of students engaging with faculty and staff here on campus and with other students, learning about resources, learning about ways in which to get engaged, even learning about some study skills and time management and executive functioning, as well as all of the different student organizations and activities. So really feel very positive about the ways the last 4 or 5 days of onboarding all of our Wildcats into the institution, all of our newest Wildcats, I should say, into the institution. And as a point of privilege, I'll share that one of those new Wildcats is my own daughter. So I am sending off a first-time freshman here to UK. So I am both wearing a hat as an employee and who's responsible to make sure our students are successful and cross that stage. But I'm also joining the ranks of all of you as a parent too. So I'm sending those text messages, Nancy, of saying, hey, why don't you go over and get your picture taken and everything else in between. One of the things that we wanted to share today, and happy to answer questions and walk through all sorts of different pieces, but some of you may have seen the model that Nancy's got up on the slide deck, but just so that for those of you who haven't, or for those of you who have, and it might be useful to have a little bit of a refresher. We use this kind of conceptual framework. We designed this about a decade ago here at UK, and we've been perfecting it, if you will, continuously trying to perfect it as such throughout the last several years, where we put students at the center of everything we do. We definitely believe that we're a students first, student-centered institution. And then we surround those students with what we say are the 4 reasons that students might get tripped up or how they might be successful. So if we're thinking about persistence, and the goal is to graduate those students in 4 years, walk across that stage with that diploma in hand, and be prepared for a life of meaning and purpose. We talk a lot about that concept of a life of meaning and purpose. And so we say that these are the 4 ingredients to that life of meaning and purpose, but they're also the 4 ingredients in terms of what might trip a student up. So are they academically ready? Do they have the content for some of these classes that they might be taking that they can build upon, say chemistry or calculus? Do they have executive functioning skills or time management? All those kind of academic pieces. And then we look to financial stability, thinking about, are they financially healthy? Are they working, multiple jobs? Do they have financial stress, whether it's basic needs or financial concerns? So how do we structure different interventions, or how do we think through different ways to help our students navigate financially? Belonging, do they feel like they fit? Do they feel like they have friends? Do they feel like they're seen and that this is a place that values them? And then that wellness, that physical and mental well-being. So are they mentally and physically able to be successful in school? And we think about those 4 areas, but we also realize that those are the 4 ingredients to that life of meaning and purpose. Are you financially well? Are you physically and mentally well? Do you engage with something beyond yourself? Are you civically engaged or spiritually engaged or have a community? And then that academic success transfers into that kind of occupational success, being ready for the workforce and being prepared for the workforce. And so I offer those to you all because it's kind of how we think about the work we do here at UK to help your student cross that stage and prepare for that life of meaning and purpose. And it's how we've structured different interventions. It's even how we've structured, say, things like K-Week and the K-Week function. So on Saturday night, we had a wellness fair, a street fair here on campus in front of Avenue of Champions that was all dedicated to the students' well-being. Earlier in K week, we had Campus Ruckus, which is where, our 700 different student organizations have different tables to encourage students to sign up and engage and belong. And so we've structured not only our our kind of interventions, but also our work around those four areas. And then we're structured organizationally around those four areas as well. So having you all familiar with that, there's offices that are clustered around those four areas. And so if you're looking for who to go to or who to contact, you can always just go to the Get Help form, which Nancy's going to have here at the end. But it's also around, we've organized ourselves around those four areas too. Moving on, as Nancy's shown here, the Big Blue Move-In and K-Week. Big Blue Move-In it's one of my favorite days of the year. Those 3 or 4 days when the students move in, because the whole campus turns out. So if you weren't able to join us when your Wildcat moved in, or if you were, you might not have known that lots of those people who were moving in are from all sorts of different offices across campus. From the president on down, our people are there to turn out and help those students. Then from there, we moved. Right as we got our Wildcats moved in, lots of the colleges or the LLPs might have had some special orientations for a day or two before K-Week began. So if your son or daughter was in Lewis Honors College, they had a couple days of orientation. Some of our living learning programs as well. Some of you might have moved your Wildcat in earlier if they were part of the band or a certain activity. But then starting last Wednesday, that's when K-Week really got going. And many of them start K-Week at what we call Tech Takeover, which is where they get their iPads and they can sign up for their UK Invest account if they want. That's a great event. There's lots of people, lots of balloon arches and all sorts of fanfare, and they wander through to get their kind of technology set up for the coming year. And then we started to rock and roll from there. We had a big street party on Wednesday night that our Dean of Students office put on that had lots of different engagement. You'll see the Wildcat on the Ferris wheel. That's from that Wednesday night. Some of you joined us at the parent and family send off at K-Lair while your Wildcat was down on Avenue of Champions. And then we rolled into Thursday and Friday, where we had, during the day, they had college meetings on Thursdays where they met with their academic advisors, they met with their academic faculty and the deans of their respective colleges. And then come Thursday night, we had Campus Ruckus. Campus Ruckus is a long-time tradition. The T-shirts at Campus Ruckus those are prized possessions on campus. Students want their Campus Ruckus T-shirt, particularly from the year that they came in as freshmen. A couple of years ago, they were being sold on eBay. That year's Campus Ruckus T-shirts were being sold on eBay. So Campus Ruckus T-shirts are a big deal here. And we had to move Ruckus to the stadium onto the concourse because we were afraid of some rain, but we've done that before. And yet, you'll see the picture there in the lower right-hand corner is the Campus Ruckus T-shirt, or the Campus Ruckus picture from that evening. Mother Nature did turn out for us. It was beautiful. The stadium looked beautiful. Students could look out on the top concourse out over to the field as they wandered around and met with different students from different student orgs throughout the evening. Normally, we finish Campus Ruckus. Usually, it's on Alumni Commons, and then we finish it with a drone show over the library. We weren't able to do the drone show this year because we were afraid of weather, and that's going to get postponed. We're working with the company that puts those on, and we'll either do it at Labor Day, which is a lot of different sort of student activities that we do over Labor Day weekend, or we'll do the drone show at homecoming. So it's still in front of us. If you are able to make it for that, it's a great event. I've actually brought my family before to it. It's a fun event in the evening, and that's still ahead of us. On Friday, we had during the day what was called Pick Your Path, and students could do all sorts of different pieces. We had all sorts of different offices and different services open that students could navigate. They could walk campus to make sure they know where their classes were. There were quite a few different activities going on Friday day. And then Friday night is our traditional Big Blue U, which is out at the stadium. The president, Capilouto, does a welcome to the first year class, and transfer students are Our SGA, our Student Government Association president, also does a welcome. And then we teach the students quite a few cheers that they can do at different sporting events. All the different athletes, or excuse me, all the different coaches come out. Coach Pope came out and he threw some T-shirts in the crowd, which had some courtside tickets in them. So that got a lot of excitement. And then the students come down to the field and they take their class photo. And I think Nancy's got a picture of that here coming up in a second, where they and where we do that. There's the class photo. You'll see that it's in the shape of Kentucky. That's really important to us. You'll see lots of institutions release similar class photos. More often than not, I'm sure there's somebody out there, but we haven't seen it yet. Almost always what you'll see is in the shape of a logo, a university logo, or in the shape of the university's initials. We have always done it, at least in my memory. Nancy might be able to tell you a different time, but I can't remember a time when we haven't done it in the shape of the Commonwealth. And that is really, really important to us. I think it harkens to just how we believe our mission here at the university is to advance the Commonwealth, to serve the state and the people of the state. And so it's reflective in lots of different ways and different things we do. This is just one of many. You'll see that there are some gaps in certain parts of the state. That's because the students love to go to the part of the Commonwealth that they are from. And so you'll see more concentration, say up in Northern Kentucky or over by Paducah or over by Louisville. And then you'll see a little bit more gaps in the more rural areas because the students love to go to the spot of the state that they're from, which is also kind of an interesting fact. After Big Blue U, we rounded into the weekend with more activities. There were lots of student orgs hosting events on Saturday and Sunday during the day. Lots of students were walking the campus to see where their classes were. On a personal note, that's what I did on Saturday. I walked Maya Noreen freshman around campus so she knew where her classes were on starting today. And then Saturday night we did a new event called the Welcome, WELL, Come Wildcats Street Festival, and that was all around health and well-being, and it was fantastic. It was a great event. Lots of students out for that. And then we ended the week with our grill and chill. We've done that for several years. That's where students they all greet on one of our campus's pretty grassy areas over in the South Campus Residence Hall area where we grilled out and they could watch a movie together to kind of chill out and get ready for the upcoming start of term, which happened bright and early here at 8 a.m. this morning. I was out walking campus this morning and actually just about 45 minutes before this call, lots of people out. Change of classes are on the hour. Today's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so classes are running about 50 minutes before they change. And so if you want to get a Starbucks or if you want to get a coffee, you better do it somewhere around like on the 20 of the hour, not around the 50 of the hour, because the line's going to get jammed packed as students get let out of that class before that next one. But it's been a really great start of the year as we welcome the class of 2030. Nancy, I don't know if you want to jump in here and walk through some of the upcoming events.
I sure can. One of the things that we wanted to make sure that families knew is that there are plenty more events where K-Week came from. It's a great start to the fall semester, but there'll be continuous programming going on. Kirsten mentioned Labor Day, so that will be coming up this Labor Day weekend. One of our thoughts there is to give students something to do for that extended weekend. We know that many of our first-year students are continuing to find their footing, make connections, and so our Office of Student Organizations and Activities and a number of campus partners will have lots of programming going on that weekend. It will include the UK football home opener as well, so encourage your student to check all that out on the websites there on the screen. We've got a handful of fairs. I think of the early part of the fall semester as kind of fair season. I mentioned in talking about upcoming Cat Chat Live webinars that our Education Abroad and Exchanges Fair is coming up in early September. So their Cat Chat Live is about a week before that fair. It's a really great opportunity for students to meet with different program providers, different undergraduate colleges that have abroad opportunities. And so encourage your student to check that out. We talked about wellness and well-being being an important part of the student success mix there. And so in mid-September, our Office of Student Wellbeing and their teams and respective units will be hosting Wellapalooza outside the Gatton Student Center. You can see there on the screens and photos from some of these events. Looking ahead into October, mid-October, Campus Ruckus was a great opportunity for students to connect with a lot of our registered student organizations and clubs on campus. There will be another opportunity in mid-October. We know that sometimes students want to get their footing academically before they really start committing to student organizations. And so the fall involvement in fair will be another opportunity for students to see some of those clubs and organizations. We talked about it at orientation, but want to reiterate that BB Involved is a really great place for Wildcats to figure out all of the clubs that are available to them, to see the event calendars for a lot of the things going on. These are just a few highlighted events. There are many, many more events going on every day. BB Involved is a great way to keep up with those. So are the campus yard signs that students will see changing out every so often. As I mentioned, when I talk to families at orientation, sometimes students can get a little overwhelmed in thinking about how to navigate all of these 700 plus clubs and organizations. And so the Office of Student Organizations and Activities has peer involvement advisors who will meet with them and help them navigate what their involvement journey may look like there. So those are some of the upcoming events. Kirsten, would you like to speak maybe a little to Cats Up and how we'll continue to keep tabs on how our incoming students and all of our on-campus residents are doing?
Sure, happy to. So our Residence Live staff, 4 times a year, they administer something called the Cats Up survey. And that is a check-in with each of the students in the residence hall, asking them how they're doing, how they get along with their roommate, are they going to class, things like that. All of that information gets aggregated so we can kind of get an overall sense of how the students are doing. We can also look at it, say, by residence hall or even by residence hall floor. And then we also look at it at the individual. And so we can also usher in different interventions if we start to see students responding in certain ways that make us think that somebody needs to reach out. It's part of an overall framework of information that we try to integrate and think through for our student body. So we do a lot of different surveying, we do a lot of different tracking, if you will, where we use data analytics to help us navigate different spaces with our students so that we can make sure that they're all on track and we can usher in interventions based on if we see students moving in certain directions through the data analytics in ways that may be concerning to us, like not going to class or who are responding to certain surveys that we do. The Cats Up survey isn't the only survey we do. We also do a first-year student questionnaire. We get about 97% response rate on that. That all goes into our data analytics team as well. So we're consistently trying to navigate spaces with your students or with our students, the collective R, to help us check in and usher in the right resources when we think that students might need some additional support. A program we're launching this year out of our Dean of Students office is called Wildcat First 8. And we know the national literature tells us this, and this has been a long time piece of information, that it's not just at UK, this is nationally for all students, no matter where they go, that the first 8 weeks are really critical, that students start thinking about whether or not they might want to transfer during those first 8 weeks. Even if they don't act on that for another, say, 18 months or 24 months, the seeds start to kind of get planted, and it's really critical how you onboard new students in terms of how they feel about their space where they've planted themselves, how they feel academically, how they feel socially, how they feel mentally and physically, as well as the financial. And so those first 8 weeks of how do you onboard students, and how do the doubts start creeping in. And again, this is not just at UK, anywhere they go. This is very, very typical for students, that during those first 8 weeks, they start to question whether this was the right choice. So one thing for you all to know is that that is not uncommon. If your Wildcat starts saying things to you like, "Oh, I'm not sure about this place. I'm not sure," that is very, very typical, no matter where the student goes. And it shows up a lot in the first 8 weeks. And if they don't find their footing, it starts to calcify. And so that's why you see things like where we have the second round of the involvement fair right about 8 weeks after they've gotten in here, why we put a lot of services on the front load of that first 8 weeks to get people onboarded. But there's this new project that we've launched called Wildcat First 8. So we're asking all of our first-time freshmen and all of our transfer students to do 3 things in that first 8 weeks. And it's the 3 Ps. It's people, places, and pathways. And we're asking them to identify a person on campus within their first 8 weeks, whether that's a faculty member or a staff member, somebody that they feel like they could go to. Maybe it's a work study supervisor, somebody that they've met. Maybe it's their RA or their residence hall director or their student org advisor. That they could identify that this is somebody on campus who could help me. Then we ask them to identify a place, like if there's a place that they have felt that they feel really comfortable in. Maybe it's one of our resource centers, maybe it's the library, maybe it's the dining hall. But when they walk into that space, they feel like this is a place that's comfortable for them. And then a pathway, which is there some sort of group or some sort of experience that rows in the direction that they row? And maybe it's a campus recreation or a club sport. Maybe it's a student org. Maybe it's hanging out in the English department with like the English majors, and there's a literary magazine that they've gotten involved in, or something to that end. So we're asking students that by their end of their 8 weeks, that they have found a place, a person, and a pathway for them to explore and feel and kind of put a flag in the ground to say, I identify with these 3 different respective categories. Like, here's my person, here's my place, and here's my pathway. Doesn't mean that those things can't change. Doesn't mean that that they're stuck with those 3 decisions for the rest of their 4 years. But we want them to kind of vocally plant a flag and say, I feel like this is somebody I could talk to. This is someplace I could go, and this is kind of my pathway. And so you might ask your Wildcat here in the next couple of weeks, who are you thinking is going to be your person, who's your place, and who's your pathway? That's a kind of a concrete way in which to help take those first 8 weeks and help them identify some resources in a concrete way. And it's a new initiative that we're launching this fall. So that's something else to think about. Other ways to partner with us. The most basic, if you leave with nothing else out of this call, is we are here. We've got a whole group of people who wake up every day thinking, how am I going to help students be successful today? And if you look at the bottom of that list is that the Get Help form. So we want to partner with parents and families. And so all you have to do, if you got a question, or if you think your student needs someone to look in on them, or you got a concern, you can go to that Get Help form online and fill it out. And we will definitely take that information and go look into how your student's doing and provide the right resources if something's going on. That's at the most basic level. If there's anything else, if it's the only thing you remember from this session, is that there's a Get Help form and that we're here to help. The other issue is, and I know Nancy and Nikki agree with me, anyone can just reach out to any of us, right? So like if you're like, I know there's a form, I can't remember it, but I remember Nancy's name, or I remember Kirsten's name. We really believe in a care orientation, and your students are our students. We see us all as one big blue family, and literally your student may be in the same classroom with my own child. So we see these young adults as people that we're here to help and navigate, and we're in this together. So we've definitely, are trying to encourage independence and trying to encourage connection and exploration and safety first, and engage with the campus resources. But we're also here to help provide that scaffolding as they take their first step into this landscape. And for those of you who have returning students, the same set of offers are out there, where as they start to think through their next steps in life, we're here to surround them with the support to encourage that. And if you've got concerns, we're here to help. So we stand ready.
All right. Thank you for sharing that good information and good insight. We'll open things up to questions right now. We'll give folks a few minutes if they need to quickly type. So I'm curious, now that you're wearing these dual hats of longtime staff member on campus and now first-time Wildcat family member, what kind of advice did you share with your daughter to get her ready? I know you're married to a faculty member, so I'm sure that he had some thoughts too. What advice were you trying to impart on her in the last few weeks?
Thanks, Nancy. Well, I probably went back to what my grandfather, who was a longtime educator, always said, which is, if you don't know what to say, just smile. That if you are shy and you don't know what to, if you're in a conversation or whatnot, it can never hurt to just smile and be kind. That takes, the edge off in all sorts of different ways. Be prepared, right? So walk in the class schedule first, so you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, things like that. The biggest piece of advice is probably time management, because this is the first time the students have a lot of control over their time, right? So you may have a couple hours in between classes. How do you maximize those hours? Thinking about setting a schedule and trying to stick to it. So, if you're going to work out, which we know reduces stress, we know it reduces anxiety, thinking about your meals, when you should take them, thinking about how do you maximize time, because we see students all the time, not to use a pun there, you can get sucked into frittering away time in lots of ways. And so we always say time is the most precious commodity on a university campus. And so how do you maximize it while you're here? And how do you fill in the spaces that to utilize it in the best possible way? The other piece of advice is that I gave her was, man, enjoy it with the 4 years, and spend some time exploring different ideas, meeting different people. There's lots of things that go on a university campus, like lectures and different people nationally come in to do a talk. There's athletic performances, there's artistic performances, and while you're here and you have the space and time, take advantage of all of that.
That's all really good advice. Now, hopefully, she and all of our other new students will heed it too. I know sometimes when I start to give advice to my high schooler, he gives me that look and has even told me, like, don't do your new student thing on me right now. Wow, thanks for that.
I'll give you one more piece that I gave her that someone gave me years ago, and I've given to other students. Go to your professor's office hours in the next couple weeks and introduce yourself before you need the help. Right? So have them get to know you before you have to come to them and say, hey, I didn't do well on that assignment. So establish a relationship so that the first time you're going in there for help is not when it's in a crisis. Have already established a relationship. Go visit your professor's office hours in the first couple of weeks to introduce yourself.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And I know it can be so intimidating for many students, particularly first year students. But I think if families can even talk to their student in advance, maybe role play the conversation a little bit. I mean, it really is just as simple as going in and saying, hi, I'm so and so. I'm in this class. I just wanted to come by and introduce myself. And then it kind of evolves naturally from there. But I think students build it up in their heads as something that's going to be really scary and intimidating. And when they actually do it, they realize that they spent way more time stressing about it than the whole thing actually took.
100%, 100%.
Well, while questions are coming in, I'm also curious if you have any maybe favorite spots on campus that you would encourage students to check out. Could be a place to eat on campus or a place to find a quiet moment. Do you have any hidden gems, in the physical landscape of campus, which we recognize is changing as we continue to add new buildings and renovate and all that? There may be a new spot that we're going to discover this year.
So I'll give you a couple. I was able to walk through Whitehall Classroom Building this last weekend, which has just been renovated, and the students will be the first ones in that new renovated building. It is beautiful, and there's a ton of little study spaces with all sorts of different kind of seating. So I think that's going to be really popular with students. Over by the Harris Ballroom in the Gatton Student Center, there is a little like two-story atrium on the outer side of the Harris Ballroom, and I've seen some students hang out there and study, and I always think that that's a really nice space. For our library, William T. Young Library is used heavily. Our students study there and use it heavily. You might ask your Wildcat which floor they study on, because the higher floors are where the students who are more serious about studying. The lower floors tend to be more social. So if you have a Wildcat that's studying on the second floor of the library, it's a very different environment than if they're studying on the fourth or fifth floor of the library. So you might ask your Wildcat which floor that they study on. I am told, and I might actually throw this back to Nancy because I have never had them, which I should, but I haven't, that the wraps in K-Lair are very good. It's a very popular food item in K-Lair. We have a new dining partner this year, and they're bringing in lots of new food concepts. So we've heard very, very good feedback, particularly in our two dining halls this year from entering students, that they've really enjoyed the food and the kind of refreshed physical space of our two dining halls. So those are also both. The last space I'd say is, and not to do a plug for our own office, but here in Miller Hall, we have quite a few little seating arrangements, and we love having students come and sit here and study. And some students have found those spaces as well. There's not a ton, but there are a few. And they're kind of in the belly of student success here. So the students who do kind of frequent and set up shop to study in our little lobby tend to get to know a lot of us around here very quickly and tend to get a lot of services because they just happen to be sitting there. So that's another little gem, I would say.
Well, this isn't a question, but we had a really lovely comment that just came in from Margaret. She said, "No questions, but so grateful for the intentionality of the first week of student engagement. My daughter's experience has been so positive, and while I'm adjusting to our empty nest, we are pleased that our daughter is soaring. Grateful to every member of the team who has made this such a great launch." So really appreciate Margaret sharing that.
Absolutely, Margaret, and I'm right there with you about getting used to the empty nest. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I think Nikki probably would be remiss if we didn't allow her an opportunity to plug a family weekend. That would be a great time to come back and get a taste of what's going on here on campus. Nikki, what would you like to share with the plans that you and your team are making?
Thank you so much, Nancy. Yes, Family Weekend is scheduled for September 25th through the 27th. Registration is currently open. We will be opening late registration starting September 1st. So if you want to go ahead and get your registration done before September 1st for that lower rate, I would absolutely recommend it. We have some really fun t-shirts that were designed this year, and the whole theme of Family Weekend is the Big Blue Family Adventure. And so we have a lot of adventure themed programs going on, an academic adventure trail, our tailgate, which will be done by UK alumni, but families absolutely invited to that tailgate. And then we are going to be having the ML 5K fun run or walk, depending on who you are, that I would be walking. It will be on Sunday, followed by a brunch that will be open to all family weekend registrants as well. So we have a lot of fun events going on. Those are our key events. There will also be some smaller events going on in between those times, but really hope you'll come out and visit your student, check on your student, and experience those traditions together for family weekend. And registration is open in the Cat Chat family community. It's going to be the best place to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikki, Stephanie just asked in the Q&A, do you have to register to come on campus during family weekend?
Not necessarily. If you are planning just to come and visit your student, you don't necessarily need to register. But if you're going to come to our events and experience those traditions, then you'll need to register for your family. And students will also need to register if they're going to be participating.
So I'm curious from both of you, and I'm thinking on this myself, if you were hosting guests from out of town, maybe folks who were not very familiar with Lexington or Kentucky, what would you recommend that they do during family weekend or any weekend that they may be coming to visit, knowing that some of the folks on the call may not have had a lot of chance to experience Lexington yet?
There's always something fun going on in Lexington. If you are interested in doing something outside of off of campus, I would check out our Visit Lex friends, visitlex.com. There is an events calendar, all kinds of fun entertainment going on in Lexington. They can also help you get connected to some horse farms through Horse Country if you are interested in maybe going and touring a horse farm or seeing some of our thoroughbreds around the area. There's so many fun things to do in that space as well. So lots of fun things going on campus as well, off campus as well as on campus.
If you've, Keeneland will not be running, that's the racetrack on family weekend. It'll start just after that, but Keeneland is beautiful. And you can park and walk into the gift shop and you can go out and see the track. And it's very, very pretty. It's a very pretty space. And so that's always interesting. If you're, and then Nikki mentioned you can go see some of the horse farms. I think the rolling hills around Kentucky are absolutely beautiful, particularly that time of year. There's quite a few like family orchards if you want to go pick apples or peaches or whatnot. Lots of people do that. You can also, if you are into the bourbon industry or you like that, I know some people don't, others do, but we are kind of ground zero for that area as well, if that's something that is of interest to you.
I also think it's so fun to check out some of our other athletic events going on campus. I'm jumping back to campus from Lexington, but I know like tonight the UK men's soccer team is taking on Louisville, and my family and I are planning on going out for that. So I think checking out some of those sports, particularly those that don't get the same level of attention as some of our marquee sports, they're so fun to visit and generally reasonably priced. Men's and women's soccer are non-ticketed, so we're heading over there for free. You can't find a lot of things these days for a family of four to do for free. So definitely check that out. And Nikki, remind me which other athletic teams are at home during family weekend. Obviously football is, but who else?
Volleyball and women's soccer will also be playing.
That's awesome. Volleyball had a big win over the weekend. They are ranked, I think number 3 in the country. So they would definitely be fun to check out during family weekend.
This is maybe not for family weekend, but just put in the back of your heads. Some of the best rock climbing on the eastern half of the United States is just about 45 minutes east of Lexington. So if you like hiking or rock climbing or things like that, we're very, very close to some world-class climbing and hiking. And then for those of you who aren't from Kentucky, we have the Moonbow down in Lake Cumberland, which is a there's only I think there's only 2 places in the world that you can see a moonbow, and one of them is here in just south of us by about an hour, hour and a half or so. So that might be something you put on your bucket list if your Wildcat is starting with us from out of state and you've got 4 years. You have to plan ahead on that one if you want to like stay the night at the state park because it fills up quickly, but it is something to be seen as well.
Yeah, I've been to Cumberland Falls, but have never done it for the Moonbow. That would be really cool to see. One hidden gem on campus that I'll plug is our campus recreation outdoor adventures program. I know that they do some guided hikes and climbing and things like that. And so if you've got an outdoorsy Wildcat, I would encourage them to check out some of those outdoor adventure programs as a way to connect with folks who like to do similar things. Some of their things are a little bit further away from campus. Some are just, 20, 30 minutes away. So not all that difficult to add to your schedule when you're considering that time management piece. Well, I don't see any other open questions or comments, but I would love to give you one more opportunity to share any advice, last minute thoughts, any charge for the next few weeks as particularly our first year families are navigating this for the first time.
I just say we're thrilled to have your son or daughter. We take that responsibility incredibly seriously. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to reach out. We're in this together, and we want to help your student be successful. So we've got that shared goal. We are excited to have them, and we're excited to welcome you all as members of the parent family, Wildcat family.
Well, thank you so much for making time to share that advice with families today. And families, thank you for your time. We hope this has been helpful to you to know that your student is surrounded by all of these wonderful resources, really caring faculty and staff who are here to help them succeed and have a really tremendous experience here with us at the University of Kentucky. We hope to see you back again soon for another Cat Chat Live. Again, we've got those two opportunities next week to discuss homesickness, which again, we hope that they won't experience, but we know that it is a common experience for some first-year students. We want to be prepared for that. So we'll be discussing homesickness. We'll be discussing education abroad opportunities on campus. And until then, you can always reach out to parents@uky.edu if you need any assistance. And I believe Nikki also put the phone number there for the parent family engagement team in the chat. So with that, we'll wish you a good rest of your day. And as Nikki put in the chat, a hearty go Cats. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.